Hello everybody, Cooper here and welcome back to another AFL rebuild here on AFL 23. Today we're going to be taking control of the Sydney Swans, who have probably been one of the most successful teams of the last 10 years, I would say. They've never been bad in the last 10 years. They're sort of like a less good Geelong. They've won premierships. They won in the 2000s, they won in the 2010s. Obviously, the 2020s, we're almost halfway through the 2020s. They haven't done anything of significance in the 2020s, but they've never been sort of bottom of the ladder. They're always sort of been in and around the top 12, but we're going to be getting them a premiership in the 2020s today. That's the goal at least. If it takes us 6 years, oh boy, if it takes us 6 years, it would have been our worst rebuild so far. But I hope you're all doing very well today. Before we get into a little start of the rebuild, let's have a look at what the Swans actually have and where I think they could improve. So they've got a lot of midfielders, 12 midfielders on the list currently. I think one point of emphasis, they've recently got Brodie Grundy from Melbourne. I almost said Collingwood. He recently came across from Melbourne. So we've got the Ruckman, which is great. We've also got Taylor Adams, who came across from Collingwood. We've got a lot of good midfielders, half forwards, half backs even. We've got all those guys. What we really lack is some good key position players. So I know we've got Logan McDonald, was he an academy player? I think he might have been. I really like him in real life. How's he going? He's only kicked the 56 goals in 44 games. But I think he's sort of been the understudy to Buddy Franklin, while he's been in the AFL. Obviously, Buddy's gone now, so he's going to be probably playing that more traditional key forward role now that that position's now available. So I wouldn't mind getting another key forward in, play alongside McDonald at some point in this rebuild. I don't know who it's going to be. But if we go down the list, Errol Goulden, who's a phenomenal player, probably my favourite Swans player is Errol Goulden. I would say he's my favourite. But yeah, you've got players like Luke Parker who are ageing. McCartan, that's Tom McCartan. I'm thinking of his brother who just retired. So we've got him as a key defender, which is good. But we've got a lot of players, even Jake Lloyd. How old's Jake Lloyd at this point? He's 30, so he's not as old as I thought he was. But we're going to be looking to bring in some more key position players and replace the players that are eventually either going to retire or move on eventually. But I think the age profile of the roster is good at the moment, but we just got to keep backing it up with lots of talent, lots of young talent, as I generally do in these rebuilds. But I think we're in pretty good shape to start this season. I think top 8 is the goal. I don't think they reached the top 8 last year, if my memory serves me correct. I could be wrong on that. But I think if we get top 8 this year, that'll give us something to build off. That's generally always my goal for the first year of the rebuild. Top 8, give us something to build off, and then we'll go from there. But we've got a preseason match up against Carlton. This will give us a good look of the squad now and sort of plan it out. And I'll be able to have it in front of me to see what it looks like. So yes, we've got Harry Cunningham, who's 30, Dean Rampy, who's 33. This is what I'm talking about with the key positions. So we've got Tom McCartan, who's great, who's 24. Dean Rampy's obviously 33, so as good as he is, he's probably going to be someone that we're going to be looking to move on in the first couple of seasons of the rebuild, just because he's going to regress because of how old he is. I still think he's a good player in real life, but just because of how the mechanics of the game work, he's going to be someone we look to move on. Ollie Florent, I really like. He's sort of the natural successor to Jake Lloyd, I think. I think he's really good. So he's probably going to stay around for the majority of the rebuild, I would say. Jake Lloyd, we've already touched on. Nick Blakely, he was very good, or is very good, 24 years old. Again, very nice prospect for us. Errol Goulden, we've already touched on. Luke Parker, sort of getting on a little bit in terms of years. We'll keep him around for a little bit, and then sort of as he begins to decline, we'll probably move him on. Chad Warner, he's going to stay here for the majority of the rebuild. He is exceptional. Taylor Adams, he is 30, but he did just get here, so I'll probably keep him for the majority of the rebuild anyway, even though he is a bit older. Callum Mills, our captain, one of our captains. I think we've got about 7 captains, so he's good. We'll keep him. Brodie Grundy just got here. Good ruckman. Very happy with his work. Tom Papley, one of the best small forwards in the AFL. We're going to be keeping him around for the majority of the rebuild, I would say. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. Hayden McLean, 25 years old. He's only played a handful of games. This is probably one of the positions I'm looking to strengthen. Logan McDonald, he's going to be our starting full forward for probably the entire video. but it's going to be that centre half forward position that I want to strengthen. Hayden McLean will probably still keep at the club, depending on how much money he's asking for, but that is a position that I'm going to be looking to improve at the end of season 1. Will Hayward, good player, not a great player, but he is a good serviceable AFL player. That's possibly another position that we can look to upgrade. Sam Wicks, who's a younger player, 24 years old. He's actually almost the same age as Will Hayward, but he's just a little less experienced. Probably another position we can look to upgrade. And then Isaac Heaney, who I really like. He's really good. And then as we get further into our bench, the quality does drop off a little bit. But there are some good, talented players that are not currently in the lineup. I will play around with this, and then I will put together a team to go against Carlton. I'll show you what that looks like now. Okay, we have made a few changes to the team, largely only to the interchange, actually. I actually quite liked where the starting sort of 18 are. I don't have a problem with it at the moment. It'll do for the first season. We'll just get through it and we'll see how we go. But the changes to the interchange, we've brought in James Rowbottom and Sam Reid. Sam Reid, I actually didn't realise he was still on the Swans because I don't think he's actually played for ages. He's 32. I feel like he's just been around for a long time. He's just one of those players that we're just never going to retire. But anyway, we've also brought Justin McInerney out of the sub position. He's going to be on our starting bench. And we've also got Matt Roberts, who was already there in the first place. We're going to confirm this lineup. We travel to Icon Park for this preseason game. I'm not necessarily too phased about the result. We win by 17 points. Fantastic. Who do we have in round 1? We have Melbourne in the opening round, which I believe the Swans won in real life. I should mention that I haven't watched a single Swans game this year, but they're off to a fantastic start. I've watched a few more GWS games, just because, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I live in Newcastle, so I live in New South Wales, but I tend to watch more GWS games. I don't know why that is. I don't have a preference towards Sydney or GWS, but it's just by chance, it's just who I watch more based on who's on television. So I haven't, at the time of recording, Sydney are 3-0 at the top of the ladder, or in the top 2 at least. So hopefully, Grundy's injured. That's not what I was going to say, but hopefully we can sort of replicate that kind of result. We need to find a backup ruckman, and it doesn't appear we have a Lachlan McAndrew. I have never heard of you. 62 overall, you're going to come in and do a job for us, sitting on the bench. How long is Grundy out for? He's only out with a fitness test. He'll be back next week. That is fine. So it's obviously Grundy's former team. Obviously, he's not going to play in this game, but the Swans did win this game in real life. How do we go? We win by 34 points in a fantastic result. High scoring game, 157 to 123. Who was best on ground? Taylor Adams gets 47 disposals on debut. And Logan McDonald kicks 6 goals, which I'm very happy with. So we're going to be looking to press on with this hot start that we've gotten off to in real life. I'm very happy with getting a win, first of all. I'll meet you guys at the mid-season break, and then we will see where we're at, and then we'll reevaluate the rest of our season and what it's going to look like. So I'll be with you guys very shortly. Okay, we're at the halfway point of the season. We're currently top of the ladder. Very happy with this. We've only lost 1 game so far. That was against Carlton, which was last week. They're currently sitting in second. So there are 2 teams at the top of the ladder with 9 wins and 1 loss. Everything else has been very interesting apart from the Western Bulldogs, who are currently 0-10 at the bottom of the ladder. Poor Western Bulldogs. And we actually play them next, so that'll be very interesting. Hopefully we don't lose that game. We've got the mid-season draft. Apparently we need to take 4 players, so I don't know who we're going to take. The mid-season draft is always a bit of a lottery. We need another backup ruckman, that I do know, so we are going to take channel favourite Toby Murray. He's going to be our first selection. We also need another small forward, so we're going to take Quigg here. Now, I don't know who Quigg plays for. That looks to be the the Bendigo Bombers in the VFL. So, Nick Quigg, welcome aboard. Levi Ashcroft is going to be the next pick. He's 17 years old, just the 58 overall, 70 to 82 potential. We're just picking him because he's a good trade asset. we hopefully get a future pick for him in the future. So that is just going to be the goal here. We're going to draft him, and if we really need to play him, things would have gone horribly wrong. Lastly, we're going to be taking Gilbert. He's a key forward. He's the youngest, sort of most decent key forward in the draft. 61 overall, 70 to 82 potential. We just needed a key forward to get through to the end of the season, so he's going to have to do. With the mid-season draft done, this is the team that we've been using since the start of the season. As you can see, we've got a fair few injuries, mainly to our small forwards, also to an additional couple of players here and there. One player that is currently injured is Matt Roberts, who is our sub at the moment. We're probably going to look to bring in another defender just to replace him. Isaac Heaney is back. So scratch everything I just said. We're going to be bringing in Isaac Heaney. We're going to bring James Rowbottom, who's been playing in the forward pocket, even though he is a midfielder. So we'll do that. We'll make Fox the sub. Is anybody else back that I would like to bring in? Just having a quick scout. I don't think there is. So we're going to confirm this lineup. Hopefully we can beat the Western Bulldogs, who, as I said, have not won a game so far this season. And they still haven't won again. So they move to 0-11. We win in a very positive display. Warner kicks 4. Let's continue to the end of the year. We've reached the end of the season. We ended up finishing second on the ladder. 17 wins, 6 losses. It was looking a little bit dicey for a second there. We did drop down to about 5th at one point in time, but we are now firmly placed in second. So very good end to the season. We're in good form. We've got Essendon in a qualifying final at home, which is great. Carlton were the best home and away team this year, so that gives us something to chase for next season. And the Western Bulldogs did get some wins in the end, which is good for them. Not a good season for Western Australian clubs, however. Fremantle and West Coast finishing in the bottom 4 as well. But apart from that, no major surprises, I don't think. North Melbourne finishing in the top 6 is surprising, I guess. Essendon in the top 3 is definitely surprising. But anyway, we've got a qualifying final up against Essendon at home. We still have injuries in a lot of random different places. McDonald, unfortunately, has missed a lot of time this year with injury. He's only played a handful of games. Sam Reid is going to come in for him. We need Jake Lloyd to come back. That is great. That's not what I was going to say. But Jake Lloyd has come back. Luke Parker can come to the bench. He's been playing on halfback as sort of a placeholder for now. Luke Parker can not be the sub. Thank you very much. Actually, he's not the sub, so never mind. Harry Cunningham is also back, which is good. So we'll look to bring him in for probably Roberts. We'll do that. We'll swap those two around. We'll just have a quick scout to see who else is here. This is actually the healthiest we have been in a long time. I think that's probably all the moves we're going to make. Actually, we're going to bring Laddams in for our backup ruckman. I didn't see him being healthy before. So that is the team that we're going to go with for this qualifying final. Hopefully we can pick up a win. That would be nice. I don't expect us to win a premiership or anything in the first season. We win by 7 points in a very interesting last quarter. We're up by 25 points at 3-quarter time, and Essendon kicked 9 goals to 7 in the final quarter. Very, very interesting. Best on ground would probably be McInerney if I had to have a quick scout of things. He had 42 touches and kicked 2 goals. That would be my initial guess. With a week off, we now face Brisbane in a prelim final at the SCG. Taylor Adams is injured, which is not ideal. Luke Parker can come in for him. We need somebody to come in for Taylor Adams. That will be... who's that going to be? I can see that Melican's back. We could probably bring Melican in. He hasn't really played any games for us this year just due to injuries. So we'll have him sitting on the bench because we don't really need 4 midfielders on our bench. We might bring in one of our defenders to come in for Braden Campbell as the sub. We'll bring in Roberts. I think that's what we're going to do. And that will be it in terms of rotation. Everybody else can stay the same. Grand final in the first season would be nice, but going back to back to do in a rebuild I've not done yet. So we're in a grand final. We are in a grand final. Now, if we do win this game, we play Essendon in a grand final. Don't know how realistic that is, but we're playing Essendon. If we win this game, we will do a second season because doing a 1-season rebuild doesn't make a great deal of sense because I just wouldn't have done that much to change the team. So we are going to do a second season no matter what. But it would be nice to win a grand final. I'm yet to lose a grand final in a rebuild. So hopefully we can keep that streak alive. Luke Parker is out again with injury. McInerney will come in for him. Who else is healthy that we can bring in? Taylor Adams is back, so we might actually move McInerney back to the bench. Luke Parker's going to miss out, unfortunately. Taylor Adams can start as our rover. Grand final time, Essendon, Sydney Swans. It's a Sydney Swans grand final win. Ordinarily, I would have the music play and celebrate this, but we're not going to on this occasion because the job really is not done. So we're going to hold the music for now. That can come at a later date. Who wins Norm Smith? Who wins Norm Smith medal? Sam Reid kicks 4 goals, which is nice. I don't know who wins Norm Smith. It could be any of those players on screen that you like. I don't really mind who wins Norm Smith on this occasion. But the game was really won in the first quarter. They tried to come back at certain points in the game, but they never really got close. But just a good result for the Sydney Swans. Let's get into the off-season. Before we get into the off-season, we do have some end-of-season awards here. I don't see any Swans on this particular list. Laddams was our leading vote getter in the Brownlow medal, which is a little bit annoying, but considering it's not, I wouldn't say he was our best player. I mean, he's not our best player, but good for him to getting some votes. Coleman-wise, that goes to Baldwin of Essendon. He ended up kicking 76 goals. Charlie Curnow in second with 74. Max King of St Kilda in third with 68. No Swans as expected because our key forwards did spend a lot of time injured. We'll just actually have a look at this. Now, McLean was our leading goal kicker with 48 goals. But yeah, as you can see, McDonald only kicked for 35 this year. Sam Reid kicked 37. But yeah, not fantastic stuff from our key forwards as expected, just because we don't have a lot of great key forwards. And the ones that we do have did spend most of the season injured. And the rising star, that goes to Verrill of Melbourne, who is a ruckman. So ruckman, again, getting a lot of the awards. We did have, is it Corey Warner? Oh yeah, Corey Warner get some votes in the rising star. He did play a handful of games for us, which I thought was good. Chipped in the forward pocket. But that will do the end of season awards. As Melican got an All-Australian, which is surprising considering he only played about 4 games for us. Lastly, these are the end of season stats for this season. McLean leads the goal kicking with 54 goals. Sam Reid 46. Wicks, Heaney also above 40. Logan McDonald only played the 12 games, as you can see. Disposals wise, that goes to Taylor Adams. He ended up with just under 900 disposals. Callum Mills up there as well. McCartan led the way in marks. Tackles was Mills. Clearances was Mills. And hit-outs was Brodie Grundy as expected. Trade period and free agency is now open, but before we get into any of trading anybody or signing anybody from pre-agency, I've had a little sneaky peek at the contract situation of the Sydney Swans, and we have a lot of uncontracted players that I would like to bring back. McDonald, Cunningham, Rowbottom, Hayward, all want to bring back. All, when healthy, played a key role for us last season. Francis, I'm sort of on the fence with. I don't really know what I'm going to do with him yet, so I'm probably going to have to think about that for now. Ollie Florent is definitely one I'm going to be bringing back. Wicks is good value on a rookie contract. We'll look to promote him from the rookie list. Jordan, we've got a lot of good midfielders, so whether we keep him around is another thing that, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Sam Reid, he's a bit older now. Errol Gulden, definitely a priority signing that we want to keep. Let's see who else is down here. Hamling, he's a good player. Not a great player, but a good depth option at centre half back and full back. And then we've got a whole host of other players down here, such as Fox, Melican, and some other rookies as well, which, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think if we can secure everybody in terms of like their overall rating that's sort of 84 and above, and within the right age bracket that I think that we want to be looking at, I think we'll be in good stead. So how much money do we actually have available to us? We have just over 6 million, 6.2 million to spend on a few players. So we've definitely got lots of space in our budget, which is good. First priority is Errol Goulden. We're going to do his contract now. For the remainder of these rebuilds, I know I've been doing a lot of, longer contracts, securing these guys for long periods of time. But realistically, these rebuilds shouldn't take longer than 5 seasons. So I'm really not going to sign them to contracts longer than 5 years, unless it makes sense for me to do that. So if I can get a player on a lower contract but extend the years out, I'll do it. But realistically, for Errol Goulden, I really only need to sign into a 3 or 4 year deal because I'm not really going to be playing longer than that. So that's what we're going to put together now. Errol Goulden, first contract is signed, $935,000 a season for an additional 3 years. He's one of our best players, if not the best player on the Swans. He's just a really good player. So obviously we want to sign as many good players as we can as part of this rebuild. He is priority number 1, and we've signed him up for another 3 years. So that's all we can be happy about. Is that we've got him. Let's move on to the next player. Logan McDonald is the next contract that we have signed. 5 years. That's not right. 3 years, $565,000 a season. Similar contract in terms of length that we gave Errol Goulden. We're sort of signing the players up to this sort of 3-4 year span. He's the best key forward at the club, and I didn't want to lose him. He is not eligible for free agency, so I wasn't too worried about that. But he's just another solid prospect that I wanted to sign down. We're obviously going to be looking for another key forward in the market, but hopefully we can get some more games into him next season, because he only played, I think, a dozen or so games this year. So let's move on. James Rowbottom has accepted a new contract, $555,000 a season for an additional 3 years. Again, just adding to this young core that we do have, these players that we're going to be building around for the future. He's going to be a pillar of our midfield going forward, and I'm looking forward to using him as this rebuild goes on. Will Hayward is another signing that we have made. He's $500,000 a season for another 3 years. He is actually an unrestricted free agent, so we wanted to secure him before any other teams made a bid, but we've signed him up. He's going to sit in that forward pocket for us that he, did. I think he did an okay job last season. He did spend a bit of time injured, but hopefully we can be a bit healthier next season. I know we were very successful last year, but we've got to build off that, because realistically, because we won the grand final last year, the only way we can go is backwards. So we've got to try and keep together this core that we have. I keep talking about this core, but it's really important that you have a core of players to build around, because there are players that are going to leave season after season, but you want to have this sort of core group of, 10 to 12 players that are with you season after season after season, that are sort of around the same age, and that if you lose a piece, you then replace it with something better. And Will Hayward, he's a part of this core, so it's important to keep him under contract. Sam Wicks has signed a rookie extension, coming off the rookie list now, for $90,000 a season for an additional 3 years. Just good value pick. I wouldn't probably re-sign him just because of the overall rating for his player, but at $90,000 a season, that is tremendous value. So it's really important to fill up your team, your squad, your roster, whatever word you want to use, with these really high value players at these minimal costs. Is basically finding value in the market and plugging these little holes where you can, so you can go find these bigger contracted players who are going to be a little bit more expensive. So signing him up for a cheap deal is crucial to my plan. James Jordan is up next for a contract extension. Again, another 3 years, $430,000 a season, giving him a little bit of a pay increase based on his last year salary. So that was $360,000 a season. Bump that up $70,000 to $430,000. He's still got room to grow, which is why I've given him another contract. He's got that sort of 84 to 86 potential. He's currently an 83 overall. So in a couple of seasons' time, should he be an 83 overall, this deal would represent very good value for the player he could be. Last contract that we're going to be signing in this initial phase is going to be Lewis Melican, $610,000 a season for an additional 3 years. He's 27 years old. He was a little bit on the injury list last season, but I think where he's valued at in terms of his overall player rating, he still has a bit to give to this team. He's right in the middle of his prime. So I think it's a good contract. It's not too long. If it turns to crap next season, we can always trade him for something, as he still does hold a bit of value within the league. So I think this is a deal worth making. So as things stand, we have left Harry Cunningham unsigned along with a few... Oh, I've missed Ollie Florent. We'll sign Ollie Florent up in a minute. But we've also unsigned, players like Constantine, who's only a 53 overall. So we're going to move on from those really sort of low-ranking players. But Sam Reid, we're going to move on to another team, just in exchange for a relatively, maybe a second or third round draft pick or something like that. He might assist in a bigger trade, I don't know. But we're going to move on from him. He's sort of, as I said, I think earlier in the video, he's sort of been around for ages, and he's played a lot less games than I think a player who's been around for as long would have played. I know he's had a fair few problems with injuries, but Vickery we're going to move on from, Edwards we're going to move on from, Hamling, Isaiah Kirk, is that right? Indy Kirk. We're going to move on from him, the son of Brett Kirk, I think. I'm assuming it's Brett Kirk. I don't know who else it would be. But as we go further down the list, as you can see, just the players that we have left really aren't up to scratch. Fox is the one that I did consider bringing back, but I think we're going to move on from him in a trade. We're trying to trade up for a sort of a different level of defender. He's sort of 30 years old now. He could sort of stay as an 83 for a couple more seasons and it really wouldn't matter that much, or he could regress really quickly. I don't know how it's going to play out for him. So we're going to keep him around for now. Players that are a bit older, like your Luke Parkers, your Jake Lloyds, I'm going to keep them around while they're under contract, and sort of as their contract expires, we might move on from them later. But now back to that contract that we didn't sign. It was for Ollie Florent. I honestly just missed him, so I don't know why I didn't sign him up. We'll do this one as sort of a live negotiation. We're going to go for the 3 years. We're going to even everything up on the money front. $555,000 a season. That is perfectly fine. How old is Ollie Florent now? He's 25, so we're going to be getting him for his peak years. The money is now uneven. I need to fix it. I swear I have a problem. There we go. He's all signed up now. So we've signed up the players that we wanted to sign up. How much money do we have left? We've got a touch under $2 million to spend. Now, we obviously don't want to blow all of that money straight away. We want to be responsible with that money and figure out what we need and what the areas that we need to be strengthening are. So my first impression of the squad that I sort of picked up at the start of last season is key forward and defenders, in terms of not key defenders, but sort of your halfbacks and your back pockets. Because I know Cunningham we're probably going to let go. So we'd probably trade him along with, there was one other defender, not Lloyd, it was Fox, that we're going to be moving on. So we'll probably see what we can do there. They're just sort of in that wrong age bracket that I want to be building the team around. So we'll be looking to bring in a defender, probably either in free agency or via trade. Probably not the draft, because, a player that we're going to draft, we'll have a look at the draft pool now. Unless there's a couple of decent potential players here actually. But they're both key defenders, and that's not really an area of need. Or is it? Do we need a key defender? I think we might get a key defender, actually. So we might only draft one of these guys. So my preference would be Eddie. I don't know what his first name is. Jude Eddie. That is Vic Country, I believe, if my mind is correct. So he might be the one we go for. He's a 75 overall, 93 to 99 potential. Or there is Miguel Holmes, who's Western Australian, who's a 76 overall. So it could go either way with either of these two. We might trade for a top pick, which belongs to either the Western Bulldogs or West Coast. We might not get a key defender in the trade period or free agency. We might do that through the draft. But in terms of our back pockets and our half backs, we would look to do that via free agency. So let's have a look at free agency. We'll see who is available as a potential option for us. We'll look at restricted free agents first. We can see Andy McGrath. We're going to shortlist him now. He is probably a player that's in the right age bracket, so he's going to be a player that I'm looking to bring in. So he is probably one of our targets. Jed Buse, I don't know how old Jed Buse is, so we'll shortlist him for now, but we might also go down a different path depending on how old he is. I know he's a father-son recruit to Geelong, so that might not be the most realistic signing to get him out of Geelong, but you could argue that because we're the reigning premiers, he might be interested in joining. But a player like O'Connor, again, I don't know how old he is, so he might be a different path that we go down. Coming from GWS, how old is he? He's only 25, Isaac Cumming, so he might be a scenario that we go down. We'll shortlist him. I don't know how old O'Connor is. We'll shortlist him as well. Then we've got Scrimshaw from Hawthorn. Sydney and Hawthorn sort of have this rivalry that they sort of had during the early 2010s. You know, they played in a couple of grand finals against each other, so I don't know what the situation is there. But in terms of everybody else, I don't necessarily think there's obviously our player, Harry Cunningham, going to be moving on from. So there are these defenders here that if we brought in maybe one or two of these defenders at around $550,000, $600,000 a season, and that leaves us with $800,000 to go after a key forward, that might be the way to go. And then we just build up the rest of our roster using the draft. I think that might be what we do. So I'm going to think about this. I'm going to have a look at what the contract offers are, what sort of situations we're going to go with, and we'll see which, one or two players are going to be the best fit for us going forward. Our first free agent signing is Jack Scrimshaw. We've signed him for 3 years, $545,000 a season, right in that price range that I was talking about. He's still got room to grow. He's 25 years old, 85 to 89 potential. I doubt he'll get up to that 89 area just because of his age. But if he can even get up to an 86, 87, I'd be more than happy with that. So welcome aboard, Jack Scrimshaw. Now, I've gone off the board in terms of my original list of players that I proposed to you guys. Now, I've gone with Harry Perryman of GWS here. Now, he is an unrestricted free agent, which is the section that we didn't actually look at. We only looked at the restricted free agents, but I was looking at the unrestricted free agents and I was going through a list of players just to see who was there, just to, tickle my curiosity. And I saw that he was here. He's 25 years old, 83 overall, but he has 83 to 90 potential. So we signed him up for 3 years, $425,000 a season. He's not happy at GWS. We're looking to bring him across to the other side of town. Hopefully, he can grow into something quite special for us. So welcome aboard, Harry Perryman. After signing up our defenders, we've got 3 key forwards that we're going to be targeting in this free agency trade period. Now, I think all of these targets we're going to have to get via trade. So we're going to have to offer something to get something back in return. So Peter Wright, who plays for Essendon, I was making my Essendon rebuild the other day and somebody in the comment section was very upset that we got rid of Peter Wright. So if we bring Peter Wright into this video, I'm thinking he will play a significant role for us. So we just got him here. If you want to see him in a different rebuild, leave me a comment and I'll look to include him at a later point. If there's a player that you want to see me trade for in a future rebuild, please let me know. So we've got Peter Wright here. We've got Ben King, who's one of my favorite players on the Gold Coast Suns. I am a Gold Coast supporter, so I think he would, if he wasn't to play for Gold Coast, I think he would quite enjoy playing for Sydney alongside Logan McDonald. I think he would have a great time at full forward there. And we've also got Nick Larkey from North Melbourne. He's a good forward on a bad team, and that means he doesn't get as many touches as he probably needs. So we're going to try and bring him over to a good team and hopefully something good will happen. He's a little bit older than these other players that we have that we're going to be targeting, So Ben King, I think he's 24 or 25. He's 23. He's actually younger than I thought he was. Peter Wright's been around a little bit longer. He's 27. Probably hasn't got as much room to grow. And Nick Larkey is 25. So could go either way. So I'm going to look at these contracts. I'm guessing Peter Wright will be the cheapest. King will be the most expensive. Larkey will sort of be that in the middle price because he's a little bit older than King. So depending on how I feel or how much money we have available is the direction that we're going to go in. In the meantime, while I think about that, we're going to make a trade for a top draft pick because we have to look at those key defenders that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so what I've decided to do is I'm going to do a trade with West Coast. Now, the reason I'm doing it with West Coast and not the Western Bulldogs, I think just to spice things up with a rebuild, we're going to trade Cunningham, who's an expiring contract, off to West Coast in exchange for pick 2, a future first, second round pick, as well as pick 20, which we're going to swap for pick 38, which we own currently. Now, why I'm not trading for the number 1 pick, I think just to spice up the rebuild, we're going to let the Western Bulldogs decide which player we're going to take in the draft. So whichever player they don't take with the number 1 pick, we'll take with pick 2. So that's just for something different. I know I generally trade for the number 1 pick to get the best player available, but there are 2 players I really like, and I don't really know how to choose between the 2 of them. So we're going to let the Western Bulldogs decide for us. But anyway, hopefully this trade goes through. I think it should be okay. They're actually insulted with the deal, which is quite funny. So if we take out the future first round pick, would they still like this deal? They're still insulted. What if we take out the second round picks and just do a straight swap? Cunningham for the number 2 pick. They say we're a bit far off. What if we get rid of some of our expiring deals like Ashcroft, players that we picked up in the mid-season draft? What if we just trade Ashcroft and Cunningham? They say it's an extremely fair deal. We now own the number 2 overall pick. Now, I've made a decision with our key forward dilemma. I think we're going to go in the direction of Peter Wright. I just think we didn't use him in the Essendon rebuild. We'll save Ben King. We've already obviously done the Gold Coast rebuild, and we're going to save Nick Larkey for when we eventually do North Melbourne. So I think we're going to do a trade for Peter Wright with Essendon. Now, I don't really know how much they're going to want, but we're going to try and put a deal together because I'm imagining he doesn't have a great deal of potential left because he's a bit older. He still does have potential, apparently, so he's not at a set potential just yet. We obviously do need to organise a contract. Now, we'll probably need to offer a 4 or 5 year deal because he's already contracted for 3 more years. So I'm going to work out a contract, and once we've got this down and sorted, I will be back. Peter Wright has agreed to a contract with us. It is 4 years, $530,000 a season for the 27-year-old. We're going to be looking to bring him in via trade. What we give up, I don't know. We're going to have to figure something out. So I'm thinking we might keep Francis. I know we haven't signed him up to a contract extension yet. Because we're obviously going to draft a key defender, so we're going to do that with our number 2 overall pick. So we might end up re-signing Francis for next season. But Amati, I don't remember if he's contracted. I wish it would tell me on this screen if players are contracted or not, because it does really screw around with your planning a little bit. But I know that Sam Reid isn't contracted, so we might go Amati and Reid in exchange for Peter Wright, and maybe if we throw in a future second round pick on their end, they would agree to this deal. They're extremely pleased. I didn't expect them to agree to that deal. Peter Wright is now a member of the Sydney Swans. I was going to re-sign Aaron Francis to a contract, but he's got very low morale, and so he's probably not going to want to sign a contract with us. So we might have to do a trade with another team, because I don't know. We got just under 700k left. So we've got about 650k left. So we might be able to do a deal with another team for a key defender, but I don't know who that is going to be. So I'm going to have to do some research. But is there anybody else that we desperately want to keep that doesn't already have a contract? Hamling we could keep, but I don't know if he's going to be happy. He's also got very low morale. So we might be able to figure something out for a key defender and use Francis and Hamling as trade pieces, because everybody else that's out of contract I don't really want to keep. So I think we've done a good job with keeping the players we want to keep. There are players that we want to get rid of now. I'm going to have a look at the key defender market, see who's available, and we'll work something out. For our key defender that we're going to be targeting, it is Mac Andrew of the Gold Coast Suns. Now, I really like Mac Andrew. I enjoy watching him. I like the way he goes about his business. He's an 82 overall, and most importantly, he's only 20 years old. So even if this rebuild does not go well this season, he has got plenty of room to grow as seasons go forward. What is his potential now? He's 87 to 99 potential. He's probably someone I'm going to be wanting to contract for a longer period of time, but for the sake of the rebuild, I'm only going to sign him to a 3-year deal. What that deal is going to look like, I have no idea what his demands are, but hopefully it is not, too ridiculously priced. We've done the contract with Mac Andrew, 3 years, $470,000 a season. We now have to work out a trade, so we're probably going to be sending Francis and Hamling over to the Gold Coast, with probably some other form of compensation, probably a draft pick. I don't know what that's going to look like just yet, but we will figure something out. We've put a deal together with the Gold Coast, which they have accepted and they say is extremely fair. We'll have a look at the deal now. It is Francis, Hamling, pick 38 and pick 56 in exchange for Mac Andrew and pick 33. I think this is a good deal for us. We're probably just going to delist everybody else. I don't really see much value in everybody else that is left. We probably could re-sign Fox now, actually, considering how much money do we have left. We probably don't have the budget for it. So we'll probably just delist him, and then we'll probably look to bring somebody else in over the draft period. So I like the business we have done. We've signed up everybody that we wanted to. Time to move into the draft. So the Western Bulldogs have the first pick, as we discussed. Who do they end up taking? They take not one of the key defenders. I don't believe... Who did they pick? They took a midfielder. Okay, that's fine. But the point of me trading for the second overall pick was so that we didn't have to make a choice between these two players. But now that we do have the choice, I think I'm going to go with Eddie, purely because he has the higher potential. The difference in overall will change, periodically as, the seasons go on. But just because Eddie has the higher overall potential, that's the player we're going to be going with. So welcome to the club. I forgot his first name, Jude Eddie. We then have pick 18 as well. There's a few other players with decent potential that I am interested in. There is Bowler, who is a ruckman who's got not great potential, but he's a solid overall, 81 to 90 potential. There's a couple of key forwards that could be interesting. There's another key defender, which I don't really think we need. So we might actually go with the ruckman. Just a nice backup option. We didn't really address that issue in the off season in terms of the trade period. So I think we're going to go Bowler. So welcome aboard, good sir. The key defender that we were talking about before is still available here at what pick are we up to? Pick 36. And there's also Patel, who's a key forward that has okay potential but isn't fantastic compared to Estes, who's the key defender. So we might go with the key forward because we've already addressed the key defender in this draft. So we might go with Patel, and then if Estes is still there the next pick, we'll go with him there. Pick 74 now. Estes did end up getting picked by Brisbane. So now we're just going to go best player available. We'll see who is available. First of all, we'll have a look at who was on an AFL list last year. That's generally how I get to find all of my better draft picks that are a bit later in the draft. So we've got Brown. Is that Tom Brown? Tyler Brown. He played for Collingwood. So we could go him. We could go Sydney Stack. I might go... Peatling's an interesting option. We might go Brown, I think. We haven't gone a midfielder yet in the draft. Let's go with him. James Peatling is still here. He's still available to be picked. He's only 24 and he does have a little bit of potential. I think this is the direction we're going to be going with our next pick. So welcome aboard, Mr. Peatling. McLennan is going to be the next pick for us. He's the best defender that played at AFL level available last season. So 74 to 81 potential is not something I'm really worried about here. I just want someone who, if there's an injury, can fulfill a need for us. And I think that is going to be McLennan. So we're going to be drafting him here with this next pick. With our next pick, we're going to be taking Ryan Marich with this pick. I don't know who he played for last. Played for the West Coast Eagles. I should probably know that since I'm doing a Harley Reid rebuild at the moment. So I'm in the middle of filming that. I think we're up to season 6 or 7. So that will hopefully be out very soon. Probably, I'm hopeful it'll be out within the next couple of weeks, but I really don't know. Doing a bit of cross-promoting here. But we're going to be taking Ryan Marich of previously the West Coast Eagles, now of the Sydney Swans. Going to be taking another key defender now in O'Donnell, who did he play for? James O'Donnell played for the Western Bulldogs. 77 overall, 77 to 86 potential, only 22 years old. It's just going to be a nice backup for us, so hopefully we won't have to use him too much. With our final pick, we're going to be taking the youngest ruckman available, who just so happens to be the best ruckman available. It is going to be Peters, who did not have a club last year. He was playing for, that looks to be the Western Australian? I'm assuming that's Western Australian with the Black Swan there. So I wanted to say Swan Districts, but I don't think he was playing for Swan Districts. I think he just hasn't been drafted by a club. So I'm going to be drafting him. As we now get into the rookie draft, we have 3 picks required for this one. Again, we're just going to be picking best player available. So we'll see who's here from an AFL list last season. I'm probably just going to pick some guys with potential here. There's Ben Ronke, who used to play for the Swans. I think just as a bit of a nice homecoming, we might actually draft him, not for any particular reason. I think that's just the way we're going to go. I'm going to be taking another backup ruckman. I'm going to be taking O'Keefe, who's only a 62 overall, but he has that nice 74 to 85 potential. This is more just a project for the future. I don't expect him to play any games for us, but he might be a nice trade piece for the future. And with our final pick of the rookie draft, going to be taking Cobb, who 68 to 82 potential is not a bad player, but it's not someone who's going to be first choice. We just pick up another key defender. He fills a position of need, and that is the rookie draft done. So this is the lineup that we're going to be going with for the next season. Now we do unfortunately already have an injury to Logan McDonald. He is not going to be taking part in this opening sort of portion of the season. But we've got a few backup options in our key forward positions, which is nice. But we've got Scrimshaw in our back pocket, along with Tom McCartan at fullback, Ollie Florent in our other back pocket, Jake Lloyd across halfback with Melican and Blakey. We've then got Errol Goulden as our wingman, with Luke Parker in the middle, with McInerney, Taylor Adams as our rover, with Callum Mills as our other rover. Brodie Grundy is also our other ruck. Tom Papley is going to be across half forward with Peter Wright and Will Hayward, and our full forward line is going to be Wicks, McLean and Heaney for now. Once McDonald comes back, McLean will come out, McDonald will go in. Peter Lathams is going to be our backup ruck with Rowbottom, Warner, Roberts and Perryman on our bench. I think this is a good side. Hopefully it will be strong enough to retain the Premiership. How long is McDonald out for? He's got a metatarsal fracture. He will be back in 2 to 3 weeks' time. So we won't see him, as I said, in this opening part of the season. Pre-season time up against the Gold Coast Suns. Don't really expect too much out of this game. We lost, it's a pre-season game. I'm not too worried about it. Let's press on. Winning regular season games is what I am worried about. We've got opening round at the SCG against Fremantle. Hopefully we don't have any more injuries. We don't by the looks of it, which is good. SCG, Fremantle. Let's get a win to open up the season. It's a high scoring game, 137 to 149 loss. We were up by 19 at half time, and it was 12 goals to 8 in the second half, not in our favour. So not an ideal start to the season. Best on ground would probably be, Peter Wright kicked 5, so that's something. But yeah, they played well and we didn't, unfortunately. So not ideal, but we move on. We've got the derby. Actually, not the derby, it's the Battle of the Bridge. We're in Sydney, that's what I'm talking about. I've been so used to calling it the derby when I've been using my Harley Reid save file. But Peter Wright is now injured, so hopefully, by the looks of it, McDonald is back. Yes, he is back. Okay, so that's quite an easy swap to make. So put McDonald at full forward, put McLean at centre half forward. Everybody else will keep the same. We're going to confirm the lineup, move into nothing because I think we had to buy that round. So now looks like, if I can find him, Peter Wright is back. So McLean can come out. Logan McDonald and Peter Wright as a tandem. We'll be playing together for the first time. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they go in the Battle of the Bridge. We win by 6 points. 6 goals to 4 in the final quarter. Very, very happy. Mills has a great game. Wicks and Wright kick 4 apiece. And Perryman gets a win over his former team. Very happy with the result. I will see you guys at the mid-season break for the mid-season draft. Let's see how the early part of the season goes. We've reached the halfway point of the AFL season for 2025, and we're currently sitting nice and pretty in second place behind Richmond, who are in first. Now, I'm a little bit confused because it says we're going to be playing GWS next. Now, we've already played GWS twice this year. I don't really know what's happening. So if I go back through the fixtures, we've had a couple of very interesting games. We'll basically go round by round. So as you can see, I think it was round 2 we played. Yes, so we played them in round 2 as I thought. We just had to scroll down a little bit. So we played them in round 2, and then we played them again in gather round, which we won both games, which is fantastic. But we're now playing them again here. So we've been playing them 3 times in one season, which doesn't really happen in the regular season. So I'm not sure if this is a bug or something. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's at least a rival, so playing them 3 times in a season makes sense. But it's just something that doesn't really happen that much. I don't think it's really ever happened. But anyway, getting sidetracked. Mid-season draft is here. I don't really expect to take anyone too spectacular. We've been pretty lucky with injuries. So I'm just really going to take best player available. Binns is going to be a pick that I make. 76 potential to 85. He's another midfielder. Although there are some good players on the suggested players list, we might have to, won't be able to do a search based on who's in a particular league. But if we do it this way, we'll leave Binns for now. We'll go, because Nick Cox has got good potential. Jack Beitel, I don't know how to say his name, but he's an 82 overall, and there's obviously Matthew Cottrell as well. But Nick Cox, I do know, has decent potential. So we might go Nick Cox, who used to play for Essendon. Yes, here we are, 88 to 97 potential. I think that's the direction we're going to be going in. Taylor Adams, who did come across from Collingwood last season over to Sydney, he's had an overall reduction to his player rating. Now, I'm going to be wanting to bring in a midfielder, which we've done now. So we're probably going to have a look at the key forwards, because our key forwards for the most part have been very good. We also had we want a key defender, because Dean Rampy has also had a reduction to his player overall. So we might take Marchbank. I think, actually no, we're not. We're going to take Edwards, who's an 80 overall, 80 to 85 potential. That is the direction we're going to be going in. Harry Edwards, welcome aboard. But that is going to be the draft. But if we go to the roster, you can see Taylor Adams is down to a 77. I believe he was either an 85 or an 87. And Dean Rampy, I don't know what Dean Rampy is, so we're going to have to Dean what number. He's actually retired. So he's retired mid-season. So he's not actually going to be available for us at all to play. So yes, we've got the third GWS match this year. So no wonder Rampy, I couldn't play Rampy because he was injured. He's retired, not injured. You know what I mean. Jake Lloyd is going to come out for Roberts. That is a fairly straightforward switch for us to make. Perryman can come out as the sub. We need to find another defender or just another player to fill that role for us. As you can see, we do have a handful of injuries. We're up to 6 injuries now, which isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world. We've been in worse situations. So we're going to bring in Mac Andrew, who can be the sub for this match. Can we go 3 for 3 against the Giants this year? I certainly hope so. It's an away fixture in the Sir Doug Nicholls round. And we get absolutely battered by 69 points. Fantastic work. So a little bit unfortunate there. Tom Green gets 45 touches. McDonald kicks 3, which is, great. Hogan kicks 7 for them, and Bedford kicks 5. So not a great turnout, I will be honest. But that leaves us for the rest of the season now. We'll make it through to the end of the regular season. Hopefully we'll be a finals contender. We do have percentage on our side. It's just about trying to get that home final, because with the home final, we at least get the double chance. Not the home final, the top 4 finish, we get the double chance is what I'm trying to say. So that is the goal. We're currently sitting in 5th, although that might change results depending. Actually, no, we should be okay. So we've got St Kilda next, who haven't won a game for a little while, but end of the season, I'll meet you there. This back end of the season has been an absolute roller coaster. We were in some terrible form, but we have ended the season in the best of form, winning our final 5 games. We were 9-9 at one stage. We were now 14-9. We just missed out on top 4. Unfortunately, Brisbane won their last game. Had they lost, we would have skyrocketed all the way to 4th, which isn't saying much because we really only would have gone up 1 position, but that's the reality of the situation. But we could have also finished as high as 3rd, depending on the results from the West Coast game. But we have a home final, which is great. We're going to be playing GWS yet again, which, has seen some mixed results so far this year. So we're going to be playing GWS for the 4th time. Not, we played them 3 times in the home and away season. We're going to be playing them for a 4th time here today. This has got to be some kind of record. We've been having injuries in all the wrong kinds of places. Perryman is back, which is great. Who do we bring? We bring in Cox. Actually, Lloyd can come out. Lloyd's only a 79 overall now. We might have to move on from him next season if we don't win the Premiership. So we'll bring Lloyd out. McAndrew can Cox can be the sub. McAndrew can be an interchange. Perryman and Campbell can be interchange. Ladham's back up ruckman. Warner's been playing on half forward just because we don't have another forward, just because we've had injuries to Peatling. We had injuries to Will Hayward initially. Luke Parker's been out for ages. I don't even know what his injury is, but he's been out. McLean's injured. Heaney's injured. Patel's injured. So we've got loads of guys in the forward line who've got injuries. So it's just been really inconvenient is the best way I can say it. But we've got a home final against GWS. Can we pull off the victory and move to the semi-finals? We do. 21 points, 4 goals to 3 in the final quarter secures the win, but it was 8 goals to 3 in the second quarter that really put the game out of reach for the Giants. We did kind of blow it in the third quarter, but a good performance from Mills, 50 touches, Will Hayward kicked 4. Let's move on to the next round where we face ladder leaders Carlton. That is not an easy game. And one of our best key defenders is injured, but that's okay. This is why we brought in Andrew. We've got to find a key defender just to sit on our bench. That can be Eddie, the rookie. 75 overall. I believe in him. Is there anybody else that's scheduled to come back? Or Heaney's back, so we can now do something with the bench. We can figure this out. Cox will probably come out. Campbell can be the sub. Heaney can go back to half forward. Warner can come in for McInerney. He can be the rover. We'll do that. It's win or go home from here. It's basically sudden death. If we lose, we're out. Can we proceed? We can. 37-point winners. We defeat the ladder leaders with a 10-2 third quarter. What an outstanding performance, but the job is not done. We are prelim final bound. We head over to the West. We play the West Coast Eagles. We're going to be trying to reignite the rivalry from the 2000s. They won a flag. We won a flag. We want to win a flag this season and go back to back. 2 meter Peter's going to miss out. He's got an injury. Who's going to come in and do a job at centre half forward? Marich, we could bring Marich in. Melican's back, which is good. So we'll look at Melican in a minute. We've also got Luke Patel. We might bring in Luke Patel. He's got the higher overall rating. We'll bring out Braden Campbell for Melican. I don't know why I said Pelican. And McAndrew can go back to being the sub. Actually, we'll make Eddie the sub. We'll do that. Actually, we'll take Eddie out. We don't really need 2 key defenders on the bench. That seems a bit silly. We'll find a midfielder. Nick Cox can come in. We'll do that. Prelim final. We've won 7 in a row. Can we extend that to 8? We can. We're in the grand final once again for the second year in a row. 28-point winners. 6 goals to 3 in the final quarter. Secured the win. McDonald kicked 6 at full forward. We play the Brisbane Lions, who finished 4th in the grand final. They lost the 2023 grand final. They haven't won since 2003. We've got 5 injuries to deal with. Nick Cox is one of them. Now is not the time to be sentimental. We've got to pick the best players available. I thought for a second we could bring in Lloyd, but he's not the same player anymore, so we're not going to bring him in. Same with Taylor Adams, same with Rampy, although he is retired. Peter Wright's going to miss out, as is McLean. So we're a little bit short-staffed. Braden Campbell's going to be the sub. McAndrew, Perryman, McInerney, and Ladhams make up the bench. Everybody else is the same. Injury-wise, we've been relatively okay so far in the finals. We're on an 8-game winning streak. We want to extend it to 9. Cheer, cheer, the red and the white.
Cheer, cheer, the red and the white. Honor the name by day and by night. Lift that noble banner.
As I have a sip of my hot chocolate, Sydney have become the first rebuild that I've done to be back-to-back premiers in only 2 seasons. We didn't need to do a 3rd year. Gold Coast we did 2 years, but we only won the 1 flag. But Sydney we have gone back to back. We don't need to do any more. Who's best on ground? Oh, it has to be McDonald. He kicked 7. You generally don't see key forwards get big bags on grand final day, but he's Norm Smith for sure. We just dominated from the outset. 6 goals to 2 in the first quarter, 8 goals to 2 in the second, 4 goals apiece in the third, and then 6 goals to 1 in the final quarter to round out a 96-point win for the Sydney Swans. We'll have a look at the statistics for the year, just for the Swans. We won't do the league stuff. McDonald has a full, healthy season, kicked 77 goals in a career best year. Peter Wright, 64 goals. He only missed a couple of games. Wicks was good, 42 goals. Hayward, 35. Papley, 35. With this aging list, we had a few guys that normally would be season regulars that we just couldn't afford to play anymore, such as Lloyd and Rampy. Pretty mixed result of who's been leading the ruck. Laddams played every single game. Bowler played a few games. Grundy missed a few games, but was crucial towards the back end of the season. Very, very happy with the result. And as you can see, as always, Ruckman leading the Brownlow medal votes. Who got the most votes for the Swans? Let's have a look. Bowler, got the most votes for a Ruckman. It was Callum Mills that got the 12 votes as our captain. Very happy with his output. McDonald and Wright finished in the top 5 of the Coleman. Jesse Hogan got 68. Bolter got 62. Curnow 61. McDonald and Wright 59 and 58 respectively. And then the rising star, Eddie didn't feature in too many games, so I didn't expect him to win the rising star. Callum Mills made it to the All-Australian team. No key forwards, unfortunately for us. But Perryman and Lloyd did make it as defenders, so that is nice to see. But that is the end of another rebuild. Sydney Swans, we tick you off. We move on to the next rebuild. The next club is a rival of the Sydney Swans. At least I like to think of them as rivals of the Sydney Swans. And no, I'm not talking about GWS. We've already done them. It will be this club. So I will leave you here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another one of my rebuilds. You've been loving these rebuilds so far. I can tell from the channel analytics. So keep up your love and appreciation. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of June. So keep smashing away, doing your awesome work. I really appreciate it. Makes me feel good inside. I'll catch up with you next time for another rebuild. And the Harley Reid rebuild, or career simulation, I suppose is what I'm calling it, will be out soon. I just need to get through the rest of the seasons. It's taking an awful long time. But I do appreciate that these things do take time. So if you be patient and stick around the channel, it will come out eventually, I promise. And so until next time, guys, I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you guys then. Bye.